It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change your attitude, change your life. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. You're listening to us in your neighborhood from coast to coast and around the world. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joan Herman, author, speaker, and your host. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life brings you interviews with some of the most inspirational and influential people in the world. It's our goal to educate and empower you so you can live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. We have another great show for you today. Joining me is Dr. Joel Furhman, who is here to discuss how we can supercharge our immune system to protect our bodies against disease, everything from the common cold to cancer. Dr. Furhman is a family physician, New York Times bestselling author, and nutritional researcher. He has appeared on television, including The Dr. Oz Show, The Today Show, PBS, and Good Morning America. Welcome, Dr. Furhman. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Doctor, our immune system is more powerful than most people realize, and we really do have a great deal of control over how healthily we live. So give us a basic understanding of the role of our immune system and how it functions.
People don't understand our body is such a self-healing machine and that disease is unnatural. That it's not, that people think we get older, it's natural to develop high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, heart attacks, strokes, dementias, and cancer. And they see, or they learned that cancer is so ubiquitous that it's just, the inevitable consequence of living and aging. It's not true. It's completely unnatural. It's the result of modern exposure to environmental influences like toxins and a poor diet, and that we're learning now in the last 5 or 10 years that certain foods have powerful ability to fuel the immune system, to function at high levels of function, to make the body, to protect itself against negative influences, to protect itself against broken DNA that could lead to cancer, that can protect itself against defects that could cause cells to become cancerous, that the body already has a built-in mechanism to prevent that from happening. But these self-reparative and self-healing mechanisms aren't fueled adequately by what people are eating, and then they can't function. So I'm saying that the advances in nutritional science makes it possible for us to win the war on cancer. And when I'm saying win the war, what I'm saying is that we can have 90% of common cancers like breast cancer and prostate cancer and colon cancer not ever have to happen. It really is possible, and it's not that radical to think that we can win, that we can wipe these out right now with changes in the way people eat and live. And because we have the information from studies now that show it's possible, and we have countries around the world that have had less than 90% of cancers that we have in America today. So, number one, we can win the war on cancer, and people can have the information to make that choice. And when people like to know and say, why not get breast cancer? Why not get prostate cancer if we and make a diet style that's protective? And the other thing is, the same anti-cancer lifestyle and diet style also offers significant protection against pneumonia, common infections, autoimmune disease, and other diseases that arise because of poor nutrition. So it's all wrapped up into one, we could say, longevity-promoting lifestyle. When I've called it super immunity. But let's take advantage of modern nutritional science. We can get a man to the moon. We've had tremendous advances in science in all aspects, and we're living in the dark ages in what people are putting in their body, committing suicide with their knife and fork. That's what it's all about here.
So the immune system, that is our first line of defense against illness. So in a very basic explanation, how does it work, and how can we benefit by keeping it in the best shape possible?
Well, our immune system has a lot of different functions. It's a surveillance system. In other words, it has the first and second lines of defense, and the first line of defense lies at the interaction between the interface between the outside world and our inner part of our body, and that's the digestive tract. And so the digestive tract becomes a barrier to let the good things in and keep the bad things out. And right now we know that the lining of a digestive tract, has villi. They're little finger-like projections, and behind the villi are they're called interstitial lymphocytes. They're white blood cells that develop in patches and kind of like hug or coat the inner lining of those villi, line of digestion. That kind of like reviews everything that passes through you and say, okay, you're a good guy, I'll let you in. Or you're a bad guy, I'm going to push you out. But we're finding out that first line of defense, the interstitial lymphocytes that line the villi, don't even develop properly unless we eat things like green vegetables and beans and mushrooms and onions in our diet. In other words, the development of these healthy bacteria develop in response to a certain type of food, and then those foods these bacteria develop in the gut, right? They're called probiotics that degrade certain fibers in food. And then because of that bacteria that develop in bacterial byproducts, and of course the food elements as well, we can develop that secondary defense on the other side of the villi, the other side of the wall inside the body that contains these lymphocytes. And this little synergistic combination between probiotics in the gut and lymphocytes right underneath the gut, the gut wall, the epithelial wall, work together to fuel the major function or major protection against disease. And so if you choose not to, let's say, eat any raw greens like lettuce and cabbage or bok choy or kale, or you don't want to eat green vegetables, then you're not going to have an immune system. Because it's not like these bacteria and these lymphocytes have an alternative fuel to build up on. They can't. They can only build with the fuel from green vegetables. Is the only thing that allows them to build. And when we start out in life by not eating vegetables or living on, mostly pasta and bread and meats without the vegetable, there's a huge plant component, then we don't have an immune system that develops even normally. We don't have the normal immune system the body's meant to have. And when we look at these foods individually, then we can say, wow, you mean onions do all that and mushrooms do that? And it seems like, wow, you mean mushrooms have antigen-binding lectins? They have ABLs, an ABL system that actually sticks to abnormal cells within the body and labels those cells as being abnormal. So our natural killer T cells and our surveillance system can then more easily identify those abnormal cell surfaces and remove them or destroy them or kill them before those cells can multiply and kill us. In other words, what I'm saying here is that these nutrients and these chemicals in mushrooms aid the immune system's function. It seems like, wow, how did we ever develop a body that needs mushrooms to function? It seems that, throughout our genetic heritage, it seems like there are certain foods we're dependent on, like a panda bear is dependent on bamboo shoots, and certain animals have been, over the millennium, been raised or been developed on these foods. We, as humans, and our immune system is dependent on the consumption of these green vegetables and mushrooms and onions for normal development of our immune system and our survival.
So, Doctor, with this knowledge, what are the superfoods that we should be eating on a daily basis?
Well, that's the fun part. The fun part is that, and I made an acronym to mix so people can help memorize those foods. G-BOMBS is G-B-O-M-B-S. And people should write that down, G-B-O-M-B-S, G-BOMBS. And it stands for greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. For example, in green vegetables, especially green cruciferous vegetable, there's a compound called isothiocyanates. And we call it ITCs for short. So these compound ITCs is not optional. It's essential for normal immune system function. And because of that, we find that as people eat more high cruciferous greens, their rate of heart attacks goes down, their rate of strokes goes down, their rate of dementia goes down, and the rate of cancer goes down. And even people with the genes that increase the risk of breast cancer or colon cancer, which are commonly discussed all the time in the news, for even people with these genes, a high consumption of cruciferous vegetables shows a dramatic benefits in lowering risk of breast cancer. And we're talking about 60% lower risk of cancers in people eating a higher consumption of these foods alone, just from that one food alone. Then it's take mushrooms on top of the greens, and we have studies that show that women have a 64% lower risk of breast cancer who eat 10 grams of mushrooms a day. Now, that's just from two parts. We're just talking about mushrooms and greens right here. Imagine if there was a pill that can reduce women's risk of breast cancer by 89%. Women would be paying thousands of dollars a month or tens of thousands a year for that pill. It would be a billion-dollar industry, but people are ignoring the fact that green beans on G-bombs have this tremendous protective effects as shown, documented by scientific studies. Let's take, for example, onions for a minute, because there's a major study on onions, and we know that, onions and garlic use and there's tremendous amount of work in human cancer showing that they have effect to dramatically reduce colon cancer, ovarian cancer, esophageal cancer, prostate cancer, stomach cancer, breast cancer. There's certain nutrients in onions, flavonoids and sulfides, organosulfide compounds, chromiums. There's a lot of beneficial nutrients, especially when you eat it raw, because the enzymes are heat sensitive, and when you chew the onion or chop it, when it makes your eyes tear, or you chew the green vegetables in your mouth, the more you chew, you break open the little packets that hold these enzymes, and it causes a chemical reaction to occur in your mouth. And this chemical reaction in your mouth is forming these anti-cancer compounds as you're chewing them. See, the compounds may have been utilized in nature. If a bug ate the plant or an animal ate the plant that it was growing, these foul-smelling compounds would be given off, keeping the insects or the animal away from destroying the whole plant. And when we chew the plant, we get those same beneficial kind of like bitter compounds in our mouth, but those are tremendous anti-cancer effects. Seeds and berries, just because this one interesting study on seeds showed that women who ate flax seeds had dramatic lower rates of cancer. And a lot of studies done on it, but just to mention one study, is they took women who had a diagnosis of cancer, and they tracked how many lignans from seeds they ate. Lignans come from flax seeds and chia seeds and sesame seeds, and they followed them for 10 years. And they found that women who had a third of a milligram of lignin a day or more had a 71% decreased death from breast cancer over that 10-year period compared to women who didn't eat the lignans. Now, keep in mind that the effects are going to be greater before you get cancer, not after you get cancer. But they still reduced risk from death from 71%. And the amount of lignans these women were eating were almost a third of a milligram, whereas 1 teaspoon of flaxseed has 7 milligrams. So we're talking about, 20 times as much lignans in 1 teaspoon of ground flaxseed compared to the highest level in this study, and they even still got 71% reduced risk of death. Imagine if people ate a whole teaspoon or even a tablespoon. Mm-hmm. And imagine if they ate it with the greens, beans, and onions. We're talking here about food is tremendously powerful effect to improve immune function, or I should say it in other words, that Americans don't have a normal immune function because they don't eat the right foods. And because they have abnormal immunity, they get cancer. When you eat the foods we're designed to eat biologically, that our immune system requires, then we have normal immunity. I call it super immunity in my book, but it's really normal immunity. It's the immunity of our birthright. It's the immunity we're expected to have. And I'm saying cancer is unnatural. It should never happen. It's the result of a tremendous deviation or perversion from the foods that humans are meant to be eating.
You know what our diet looks like, and most of us are addicted to sugar and food additives. And when someone is making the lifestyle changes that you're prescribing, usually you experience some type of withdrawal symptoms. And that's often when people give up and they go back to their eating styles. So what could someone experience during that withdrawal period, and how long does that usually last?
Well, it's important you bring it up, but keep in mind it's very short-acting. In other words, when people, they feel weak and headachy, they feel shaky and irritable for the first 3 days. But by the 4th day, and most of that comes from people stop coffee, but also when you eat a diet that's very high in protein, like some of these popular diets out there, a lot of animal products, they get a lot of nitrogenous wastes, and they get addicted to the nitrogen. So as they get low levels of nitrogen, the kidney tries to eliminate the uric acid and other irritating substances, even from the brain. They could almost feel like they're hypoglycemic just from the low level of nitrogen going down and circulating in the bloodstream. So what I'm saying is that people stop smoking cigarettes, they stop drinking alcohol, they stop poisoning their body with so much protein, they start eating healthy and, like you're saying, getting rid of sugar and soft drinks and caffeine. They're going to start to feel withdrawal. And withdrawal really has foundationally into the basis of it is detoxification, which means that we're putting into our bloodstream for removal, for the liver and kidney to excrete and get out of our body, other types of toxins. And when we do that, we can feel weak. We can want to go back to bed. The whole body can feel itchy. We can even have a little. I've seen people even a low-grade fever. But the major thing is a little mental fog people get, and it drives them back to wanting to eat food and eat more unhealthy food. It makes them feel better. So, it's funny how people think that, eating food, they need to keep their strength up, but they're feeling weak because they're detoxing from their poisonous stuff and their diet that's low in nutrients. So the good news is that when you eat right, you don't feel weak and shaky between meals. You don't feel headachy or get stomach cramping between meals. When you eat right and your body is fueled properly, you feel good all the time. And you're not driven to overeat to mitigate your symptoms. And so the answer to your question is that it usually is only the first 2 or 3 days. The vast majority of people are feeling perfectly normal by day 4. But some people can feel kind of a little bit off for the first week of switching to a healthy diet. And the healthier they eat, the more stable they'll feel for the rest of their life.
The book is Super Immunity by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. If you'd like to learn more about this topic or more about Dr. Fuhrman, you can visit his website, drfuhrman.com, and I know that he has a wealth of information on that site. And Doctor, I want to just thank you so much for being here with us today for this wake-up call, for providing information to give us our power back, to take back our health. This is really life-changing information, and thank you so much for being here with us to share it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show.
We'll be right back. Hi, this is Joan Herman, host of Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Did you know that Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life has a free monthly digital magazine that can be read online or emailed to your inbox? Every month, nationally recognized leaders in their field provide information to educate, inspire, and motivate you. We believe in a holistic approach to life, incorporating mind, body, and spirit. Check out a copy of Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life 24/7. Visit cyacyl.com and be sure to tell your friends. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided are the opinions of our guests and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read the digital magazine, and be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.